Luis Enrique prefers a nap to managing Barcelona. Real Madrid's 3 goals give them 1 point, leaving them 1 point behind Barcelona and their 6 goals. Captains America find the back of the net, and shirt sleeves aren't just for non-tank tops anymore. It's Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. I'm Taylor Rockwell, and you are listening to The Goalmouth, a podcast collaboration between Dirty Tackle, Howler Magazine, and The Total Soccer Show. Up first on today's sampler of bite-sized soccer news, it seems that the 3 most stressful jobs in the world are, in no particular order, firefighter, air traffic controller, and, obviously, manager of Barcelona. Or at least that was the sentiment expressed by Luis Enrique when he confirmed on Wednesday his decision to part ways with the club at the end of the season. In not uncertain terms, Luis Enrique stated, quote, "I will not be manager of Barcelona next season. In preseason, I had a meeting with club directors Albert Soler and Robert Fernandez, during which I spoke about the possibility of not renewing. They told me that there was no rush to decide, but the moment has arrived. The reason is the way I have to live this profession, constantly looking to improve. It means I have very little time to rest. It's been a difficult, but a well-thought-out decision. I need to rest. I would like to thank the club for the confidence they have shown in me and for 3 unforgettable years," end quote. Speculation immediately turned to who would take over at the Catalan club, with somewhat well-known names like Wenger, Tuchel, and Valverde thrown into the ring. But I'd much prefer to see Barcelona stick with the model of promoting former players who have gotten their coaching certifications, so best of luck to Barcelona in the 2017-2018 campaign under the sage stewardship of Diego Maradona. That's right, he was there from 1982 to 1984, so it works. Sticking with Barcelona for a moment, their 6-1 result over Sporting Gijón in La Liga means that the title race is, to borrow a phrase from my English co-hosts, hotting up. A Luis Suarez brace helped his side seize all 3 points and a spot on top of the table, albeit with a game in hand. That's because Real Madrid were forced to settle for a 3-3 draw at home to Las Palmas, meaning that their 56 points aren't quite as good as Barcelona's 57. If you're a fan of Real and you're ruining the situation, know that it could have been much worse. Los Blancos were losing 3-1 and down a man after Gareth Bale was sent off in the 47th minute, but a Cristiano Ronaldo penalty in the 86th minute was closely followed by a Cristiano Ronaldo headed equalizer in the 89th. If Barcelona were to hang on to the top spot through the end of the season, you do wonder if a notoriously fickle Madrid board would forget all about the recent Champions League victory and instead hand Zinedine Zidane his walking papers. If they did, then that means that both Spanish giants would be without a manager. No worries though, folks. I hear Big Sam can handle both gigs, so that's 2 problems sorted. Speaking of exciting offers, if you've always wanted to subscribe to Howler Magazine, but you've only been willing to pay 85% of the asking price, then boy do I have an offer for you. Head on over to shop.howlermagazine.com, choose a subscription, and enter the promo code LOVETOYOURMOTHER, all one word, at checkout to get 15% off. That's LOVETOYOURMOTHER, all one word, at checkout to get 15% off a Howler Magazine subscription. More coaching news now, and I have to say, before I get to it, grain of salt, folks, grain of salt. Italian newspaper Tuttosport is reporting that Antonio Conte has agreed to leave Chelsea this summer in order to take over at Inter because he's homesick. Let's go ahead and take these issues one by one, shall we? Antonio Conte has agreed to leave Chelsea this summer, no he hasn't, in order to take over at Inter, no he won't, because he's homesick, no he's not. Why am I so certain? Because a man who has made almost 300 appearances for Juventus as a player before coaching them to 3 Serie A titles isn't likely to jump ship from an incredibly lucrative job coaching the team on top of the table in the world's most watched league for the managerial dumpster fire that is Inter Milan, who are one of Juve's main rivals in Italy. Don't get me wrong, I mean absolutely no disrespect to the fans of the Nerazzurri, because my wife is one, and that wouldn't go over too well. But Inter is on its 4th manager in 7 months, and that man is also their 11th manager in 7 years. That doesn't sound like the most welcoming of opportunities for Mr. Conte. Moving on, at a time when global opinion of the United States isn't necessarily at an all-time high, one American is out there working to change the hearts and minds of the world's population. Well, maybe not so much the world's as, say, Scotland's. And really not so much all of Scotland as much as Glasgow. And really not so much all of Glasgow as much as the part that supports Rangers, because we're talking about Emerson Hyndman. The 20-year-old American scored the winner for his club in a dramatic 3-2 victory over St. Johnstone. Rangers jumped out to a 2-0 lead before the Saints, yes, I had to look that up, pulled one back in the 74th and then equalized in the 87th. But that wasn't going to fly for the man I like to call Captain America. Hyndman used his chest to settle a Clint Hill cross and then unleashed a flying volley into the back of the net in the 91st minute. Emerson ran off to celebrate with his teammates, confident, I assume, in the knowledge that at least one small part of the world was slightly more okay with the USA. That is, of course, until he misses a sitter in the next game, then all bets are off. Hyndman wasn't the only American finding the net on Wednesday. In Hamburg's 2-1 DFB Pokal loss to Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bobby Wood got on the score sheet with an equally impressive effort. Hamburg goalkeeper Rene Adler sent a kick into the Gladbach half, which the man I like to call Captain America settled with one touch, took past defender Andreas Christensen, and then finished from a tight angle. The loss for Hamburg means that Gladbach and American midfielder Fabian Johnson will move on to the Cup semi-final, where they will meet Eintracht Frankfurt and American defender Timmy Chandler. Bayern Munich have already qualified for the other semi-final and await the victor of Borussia Dortmund and Sportfreund Lotte. And given that Lotte are currently 7th in the 3rd division, this means that an American will either have the significant honor of lifting the cup or the slightly less significant honor of losing to Bayern Munich. Either way, someone from the USMNT is getting a medal, and that's what matters. And finally, it's time for some corporate news. That excited squeal you may have heard on Wednesday afternoon came from Manchester United executive Ed Woodward, who was no doubt thrilled with the news that he'll soon have even more opportunities to sell sponsorships. That's because, according to The Telegraph, starting next season, the Premier League will allow clubs to advertise on their shirt sleeves. The practice is already in widespread use across the globe, from Ligue 1 to, well, NASCAR. So for those keeping track in their official Football Association hypocrisy ledgers, that's corporate sponsorship on every part of every article of clothing, yes. Eating a meat pie on the bench, absolutely not. Everybody get that? Good. We can't afford any suspensions for our lovely listeners. And with that, we've come to the end of another Goalmouth episode. You can explore all of these stories in more depth by subscribing to our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. I've been Taylor Rockwell. Ryan Bailey will be with you tomorrow. But until then, here's today's Goalmouth top tip. Don't forget to vote for the Emerson Hyndman Bobby Wood presidential ticket in a few years. I hear they're definitely planning to keep Timmy Howard on as Secretary of Defense.